Hey, taking a look at your assignment. I heard that you weren't feeling very well last class. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, Anyways, let's see your submission here, and let's get into it. I think last time, and maybe you just didn't have enough time to address this, but I want to see this foot be kind of like the plant foot getting into this. Which maybe if you want to keep like the same everything, all you have to do is just like move the whole character back in space until this foot matches the pose of the positioning of this foot. I also think like you're going to need to get in some bend in those toes to plant the toes on the ground and not just have like the tip of the foot touching. But this is a cool pose here, you know. This kind of like a ready for action stuff. For this pose, again, like this foot should be planted, bent toe, all that stuff. I would advise to like drop down the center of gravity and have the beginning of this run. You kind of have it going on here where the center of gravity drops down, but that's going to be the easiest thing for the muscles to accommodate beginning. I like that the character is like rotating over. Um, it maybe is happening kind of all. So when you rotate a character, like you have your center of gravity, you have a couple of controls for the chest. If you just rotate it all together, the character is gonna like feel stiff and stuff. So kind of what you want to do, I would think here, is unrotate the center of gravity, or maybe rotate it less, and have the chest controllers be the first things that start to rotate down. You know what I mean? So like this gets kind of like a nice angle and a line of action that you're looking for, but if it all moves at the same time, it's gonna feel inorganic and kind of robot and computery. You know what I mean? Um, and if you rotate down, I would continue that rotate down throughout your poses. So here again, like maybe you can give it a little more bend here. Like I see in your reference, he's pretty leaned over. Like if this is the angle between the torso and that leg, it looks kind of like this angle, where I feel like yours is maybe a little bit more like in this range. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I was just looking at this move up here. If Yeah, this isn't quite like a passing pose, so maybe save that kind of thing for a passing pose. I mean, in the reference, he goes down low and he stays pretty low. Like if you look at what his center of gravity is doing, and you can deviate from whatever your reference is doing, of course, but this is all staying at a pretty similar level. Like if I'm looking at this grid line and that grid line, and how it compares. It's like dipping into the anticipation of this jump. You know what I mean? So, if this is the anticipation of your jump, this should be probably a low spot here. And again, like maybe this plant foot is forward and planted. It's okay to have it be back like you have it, but you gotta, I think, roll the toe, get it like in a more loaded spring loaded kind of pose. So either one of these is fine, but that means that this previous one should be anticipating like wherever it's going to plant, wherever it's going to be. I don't know if I drew that in the right spot necessarily, but hopefully it communicates the idea that that foot is getting to its destination of like where it's going to go, and then it plants, and then if this is where it is, then when you're here, the foot should be kind of like pointing back to where it was, as much as possible. You know what I mean? And yeah, like same is true for this feet. I would get your foot plants established and solid, like clean those up. get the center of gravity. So what I want you to focus on moving to the next class is getting your foot plants established, getting your foot shapes, designed to be like on the ground, not just have them be like flat with just the tip of the toe touching. Get like the relationship between the feet and the center of gravity, like that kind of like triangle relationship worked out, where you're getting into these anticipatory poses for this jump. And we can work on the jump later. Your reference is in slow motion, so it's making your jump feel like it's in slow motion. Maybe that's fine if that's the way you want to go, if you want to do a slow motion thing. But yeah, let's just get the run up to the leap like really solid to start. And if you have time, go into the rest of this stuff, like worry about. So we'll kind of break this into 3 chunks, right? There's going to be the run up to the wall, there's going to be the jump over the wall, and then the landing. I feel like the run up is like half the work of the shot almost, because this leap over is going to be fairly straightforward to handle. And then the landing is probably going to also be fairly straightforward. So maybe this is like, I don't know, a fourth of it, and this is the other fourth, something like that. So this part, really focus on getting this part right, because it's like the first impression of people, and it's kind of the anticipation and the setup to your shot. So pay attention to your spacing as you do this. Like, let me switch to a different color. But as I watch the center of gravity progress across the screen, I feel like the spacing here is like uneven, or not just uneven, but not like accelerating or decelerating. I'm not sure. Like, this is a small spacing as your character gets going, which is fine. That's probably what we want as they get into this run. Going from here to here is good. There to there, it's starting to grow the spacing. But then there's a huge jump to the spacing here, and then a tiny jump there, a tiny jump forward there. And then it starts to kind of grow or shrink, I'm not sure. And then from here to here is a huge jump. So that spacing is going to be like critical, super important to get right. Yeah, so I would just stay in stepped and keep like plussing these poses. Get these poses like super, super solid before you think about going to spline and stuff. Start really like designing the foot plants and the center of gravity and where all that goes. Again, I know that you weren't feeling well, so maybe you didn't get a ton of time to put into this between last week and this week, and this is still very like early preliminary work. But hey, I think it's looking good. I think that you're honing in on it, and I still really like your piece of reference. I think this is going to be an awesome animation. I just want to see you crush it and get it kind of polished up by the end of the class. All right. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions or anything about what I've said. All right. Hope you have a good week. Bye.